couldn't get off my loop that I had on. My loop-de-loop. There it is. Whoops. I'm having problems pressing buttons this morning. There we go. We'll press the buttons. There we go. Pressing the buttons, buttons. That's what Robert Munch, buttons, pressing buttons, and she became a pilot with her bunny. Happy Easter. Happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter. Welcome. Christ is risen today. Welcome. What a day. I just love it. My mind goes in so many directions, because Easter being a huge celebration. And I think I posted it on my Facebook on how they choose Easter. It's like, when Easter is. Now, Easter is the first Sunday after the full moon that occurs on or after the spring equinox. And if the full moon falls on the Sunday, then Easter is the next Sunday. Pretty crazy, eh? I knew Easter had to do with the spring equinox and a full moon. So, but I also, the way I was raised is that the church has 4 cycles that they go through with the different gospels that they utilize. So, I knew it had to do with that. And when I sit back and think, and I'm like, oh my God, they're synced to the spring equinox and the full moon. Of course, they don't want to let you know that, but that's what they did. It's so fucking awesome. It's how that synchronicity and how everything sort of intertwines with that of the rhythm of the earth or paganism or whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to say. I just think it's just fucking cool. I just love it. I really do. Yeah. So a couple things. I bought a candle. So for my Mercury retrograde class that I'm doing, I got a Mercury retrograde astro magic neutralizer. I just love it. So I got a neutralizer candle to neutralize that Mercury retrograde. I think it's important, during Mercury retrograde or whenever we're having some kind of crazy astral phenomenon like the eclipse, it's to have a candle, have something there. So and this is nice. It's nice and heavy. It's made by Coventry. They make some really good candles. Coventry does creations. They're from the States. And this is, let me see if I can remember some of the history of Coventry magic. Yeah, sure. I cleaned up in there and washed the floor and everything for you. So the whole kitchen I cleaned up for my hubby, so he doesn't have to have too many distractions. The thing is that I think it was a couple women that started doing it, but they weren't really. I don't think they were really witchy. Coventry candles, and they just started making candles. How did Coventry candles start? So, how did Coventry candles start? The history of the Coventry creation. Wholesale. They do. Yeah, it's a couple women looking back 30 years. So 30 years ago, they've been around for some time. Spunky 24-year-old quit her day job and started a company that revolutionized the industry. And she went around and did markets. Like, this woman just pounded the pavement in what she believed in. And her candles are freaking nice. Like, I'm sorry. They perfected it. I mean, when you look at a lot of candles when burning and stuff like that, and I know there's a lot of candle makers out there. But I mean, she perfected the craft in how she's doing it. And her girlfriend, and they've been doing it for several years, and they have so many different candles. I like their candles. I really, they've been around for 30 years, so they've mass produced and they know how to do it. but that's the whole thing. That's, what I've been thinking about. It's like when you are wanting to do something, when you are wanting to create something, whatever it is, right? It's, you got to pound the pavement to make it happen. And I was watching a few YouTubers and stuff, and on their YouTube and how they do things. And I'm like, some of these creators have been around for quite some time, but you go back and you look at it, they really perfected their craft, right? On creating what it is that they are creating. And I think, when I'm looking at, with Mercury retrograde and everything, it's about reinvention. What do you want to reinvent? What do you want to revise? So looking at that, it's like, okay, how am I going to revent? Because people get put into a peg hole, and then they seem to stay in that peg hole, whatever it is, right? So they, it's like the guru mama. The guru mama is, and whatever their preconception of who I am or what I am or whatever, that's the hole. But you don't want to go into that hole. You don't want to stay in that hole. So Mercury retrograde is a fabulous time about reinvention. And I think having a candle, because the candle is very magical, it's very ritualistic, and it's so, yummy, you know, it's bringing that magic that you want to bring forth to whatever you're doing and be dedicated to it, right? So that's with whatever you're doing. What do you dedicate it to? What do you, because it's so easy to shuffle it off and say, oh, yeah, I can do that tomorrow. Or we feel, I mean, we don't really realize how overwhelmed we are with as a society with all the cray that's coming in, right? We can be inundated with so much that what we would like to prioritize, we don't. We get stuck. We get watching Netflix. We get, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, I don't have this, so I guess I can't start it. And this sounds like a really good idea. Like, I mean, I have some really cool ideas lately in my head. But I'm thinking, okay, what do I need to do that? One, I'm like, I need a sewing machine. I had a sewing machine years ago, but it was one of those things that got lost in the move or got given away or something. I can't remember. But looking at some of the sewing machines are really fucking nice now. But what I could do with a sewing machine. And I'm just like, "Oh, okay." So my creative mind, because I used to craft all the time. Actually, I'm a sewer. I'm a crafty sewer. I'm not a seamstress, but I used to make a lot of my own clothes when I was a teenager. I did. I made some really funky clothes. I made this one dress. It was a black taffeta dress, and this black taffeta dress had it was fitted when I was young, when I was skinny. I used to be skinny, like really skinny, wasn't I, honey? The days you could put your hands around my waist. Those hands don't go around my waist. They go around my waist, but they don't touch anymore. I got more to hang on to. But the days when I was really fitted, so I had this black taffeta dress with black lace over top and then black lace coming down the arms. And it was fitted and then it came down, and I'm short waisted. So it came down in around in my hips, and it flounced out in 3 flounces and 3 ruffles, right? It used, I don't know how much material. It used a hell of a lot of fucking material in it, because to get the pleats right in there, you had to use at least 5 meters of taffeta, black taffeta in each. And I wore that. I mean, I loved going out in that dress especially when I moved here to Calgary. It was just like, yeah, because it was like really sexy, and I was very proud of it. Um, and wearing it and stuff like that. So I used to make a lot of my own clothes. I made shirts and stuff like that, and with the proper collars, and making, with the buttons and the buttonholes and things like that, and pants. I used to make pants, and that's what I'm thinking of doing again. One of the reasons being is that I'm finding, and here we're going to get into some little gray kind of area, people. So if you get offended in what I'm going to say, just, s- skedaddle, just skedaddle. Um, I need to have like cotton pants. I can't have and I even when I was, in the days of nylons, like, I got to a point where I couldn't wear nylons because I got, yeast infections, or it would just be so horrible and sweaty that I ended up taking them off, halfway through my, uh whenever I had to wear them. I couldn't wear them. Like, it was just too much for my body, and plus the synthetic and the nylon and everything. So when I'm wearing, like, leggings, like, I can't really wear leggings for too long. One, um, it feels like sometimes, like, they're too tight. They're too tight. I can only wear cotton on, yeah, like, God bless the girls that wear those little G-strings that go up their fucking ass. Like, that kills me. I'm sorry, that just kills me. We go from magical candles to wearing cotton underwear. You gotta just love joining me on my little rants. But that's so true. But having, and not being tight. So the other thing too is, like, I stopped wearing zip up pants a long time ago. Like, wearing zip up pants and a button pants, like, fuck that. Like, why? After having 4 children, I don't, I see, yesterday here, yesterday, I went to Starbucks. Surprised? Are you surprised? Yeah, just totally surprised. So I go to Starbucks, and it wasn't the drive-through Starbucks that we usually go through. It's the one that you have to drive to and then get out of your car. How inconvenient is that? And then go up and order. And I don't pre-order because I want to make sure I want to talk to the person when I'm doing it. Anyways, so I go in and I'm ordering and stuff. These 2 girls, beautiful, beautiful young girls came in, and they didn't have nylons on. They didn't have nylons on, but they're very nicely dressed and, had, um the cutest shoes on, the cutest heels on and stuff. And they're in front of me, and I'm just like, "Oh my god, that's so swank." Like, I remember those days. I remember those days, you know. And just watching them come in, my thought, I didn't ask them, but I was thinking, like, they probably came from a wedding. Then I remembered that there was a special Easter service going on that afternoon. So they could have gone to the Easter service. I'm not sure. I didn't ask. Then a couple other women shortly after that came in, and one was wearing this gorgeous yellow full length skirt, sheer, like, she had the the uh the underlay was yellow, and then over top was a sheer part to it. And then her waist, she had a high waist like this, like, she was skinny, so it looked really good on her. Not saying that a woman who had a little bit of size it wouldn't look good on her, but yeah, it just flowed very nicely on her and her outfit. And then she had the really cute little heels to go with it. And I'm just like, oh my God. It made me start to think of my wardrobe and how limiting my wardrobe is. And that's what got me to thinking about sewing. See how it goes around? This is how my thoughts go. And I'm like, well, that's probably not that I have a lot of right now. And I'm only working 2 days a week. So that's pretty shitty. And I don't have, really don't have any other income at this time besides whatever I make on the Guru Mama. But to get a sewing machine, a really good sewing machine, and start to create some of my own clothes and stuff. And I just feel like, okay, I'm being drawn to do something. This is what happens, like, same with the bath bomb thing. This is what happens. So I've been sort of looking at different outfits and different things. Recycled clothes too. Yeah, recycled clothes. Yeah. 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 I mean, going to a thrift store, the only thing about a thrift store, do you know, unless you go to a plus size thrift store, that not a lot of thrift stores work in big sizes. It's like only skinny people throw away their clothes. Big people keep their clothes because they're so fucking expensive. They keep them until they fall off, you know? That's my thesis. Or when you look at retro clothes and some of these retro clothes, I'm like, weren't there any fat women in the 50s? Like, give me a fucking break. Come on. There must have been. So, or the 20s. Like, there had to be some fat ladies back then. I mean, they're not all now. Or women with size. Anyways. Um, so just looking at some of the things, to make. And then I was thinking, of the different things that you can create from there. So starting to look at different things that you can create, right? Not as many because of how the processed foods. Probably not. No. That's very true. That's very true. That's very true. You know, um we are a lot fatter now than we were then, from the 50s. Like even yeah, I know when you look at a lot of photos, there's not a lot of fat people in photos from the 40s and 50s, right? But, it's still, there's got to be at least one or two out there. Someone was eating the pork fat. Come on. Someone had to be eating the pork fat. See, I'm thinking the happy thoughts about the pork fat. But this is where, thinking and revising and reinventing. And I think that that's what Mercury retrograde is. So let's bring it back to Mercury retrograde. Going from wearing cotton underwear and getting sweaty all down there and itchy, whatever, to going back to Mercury retrograde. So bringing back Mercury retrograde, right? And so this is a way of reinventing, revising what it is that you are wanting to create. And I feel like, especially because I know where my Mercury retrograde is going to be and in what house, it makes total sense. It makes total sense, right? With this energy coming in. Plus, he's in there for 3 weeks till the end of April. So this is a time of really, go out and get a candle, of what it is that you want to do. Now, I got my candle from the Rite of Ritual. By the way, I love the Rite of Ritual. It is a fucking awesome store. I mean, really, that store has all the elements of magic and mysticism and good vibes. It's good vibes. The girls that work there are awesome. Just very positive people that, of energy that work there. And yeah, I just like the Rite of Ritual. It's so, so cool. I was looking at checking it out the other day. You haven't gone? Oh my God, Jillian. I'm serious. Anybody who in Calgary has it, like, you will love it. It's kind of darkish, but it still has the light in there, right? Just the ambiance of it, right? So it's kind of, and I got like not that they're going for a Harry Potter vibe, but sort of that mystical, magical kind of vibe to it, and it's very cool. It's very cool. You will love it, Jillian. Just saying, that's the kind of store. Um, that's the kind of store I would, not necessarily the same thing that they're doing, but something like that would be very cool in having. They used to have clothes, and I see that she got rid of the clothes, and she brings in like teacups and stuff. Like she finds antiques and she brings them into a little bit of cutesy wootsy stuff like that. And then she has the Florida water, the tobacco water, so she has all of that kind of items in there too, plus an array of books and cards, a good selection of cards. So, I mean, the amount of money that the person has, she's invested in this. I mean, she does, I know she has money behind her. And I believe her dad is one of the owners of that building. So, but good on her, like good on her for doing that. I just love it. And I can see why others don't make it. Like I can see, when other stores, mystical stores or metaphysical stores open up, I can see why they don't make it, because they get stuck. They get stuck, right? They get stuck. Well, this is what I'm selling. This is what I'm doing. And it's like, this is why it's so important to reinvent, revise. even though the magical mystical stuff has been around for like thousands and thousands of years, bringing in the new stuff and um ways of promoting it and making sure that you sending out your newsletters, sending out what's new, what's happening, this is a new tarot deck, even having your workers, what's your favorite deck, what do you like, and things like that. So really having that part, and I think that's the same way with Coventry. I mean, the whole thing about how they have done what they've done is, yeah, they've created a product. If sometimes they, if they've changed some of the logo and stuff um throughout their time, but it's doing what they do and making it good. Like really coming into their talents and their gifts and stuff and making it happen. And I think that that's so important in what we are wanting to do, because things are getting a little funky out there. Things are a little bit cray cray out there. I mean, people are talking about this solar eclipse that's coming in. And tell you the truth, I'm kind of tired of talking about it because I've talked about it so much. But this is the week of the solar eclipse, so I have to be talking about it because so many people have questions about it. I'm not worried about this solar eclipse. I'm excited for this solar eclipse because it's bringing something new. It's bringing some kind of change. And whether that comet is a bad omen, which throughout history, when a comet splits, if a comet has one tail, it's good, it's okay. But if a comet has three tails, hey Lexi, you're never late. Three tails or two tails, when it splits, it's usually called a bad omen. So something is coming in. Happy Easter to you too. Something is coming in. And I have the day off too. We're not really going to see it here, to tell you the truth. It's all on the East Coast. Like, for us to really see anything of this eclipse, no. It's all coming through the East Coast and down through the east and the mid coast. So um yeah, but still, it is an eclipse that when it hits its main X, it's going to be like 4 minutes long, just over 4 minutes long. So it's quite long. And yeah, they're doing all these things with CERN and stuff like that. I wasn't even worried about when last time when they cracked the CERN open. I don't know. It's just, I feel when people are trying to fuck with dimensions, or they're trying to fuck with the universe or God has a way of, in my beliefs, of counteracting it in some way. Like, man can do what they need to do. Man can do their craziness and blow each other up and everything else. And I think, as God, it's like, okay, there goes the children again, having a little bit of a tiff down there. I believe part of the reset, when people say there's a reset, I think part of the reset is about how we are going to be reconnecting, reinventing, revising ourselves as humanity. Like with Mercury with Mercury, going retrograde, and then we have Pluto in Aquarius. This is all about this, realigning with who we are as human and realigning to that humanity. And with people freaking out about AI and all, oh my God, AI is alien. What the fuck are you holding in your hand? You don't think that's from aliens? Just things that man has invented. You don't It's like Tesla. When Tesla um was receiving information, he said he would get like 3D images on his hand, and they would show him 3D images, and he'd be talking to another entity, talking to these other entities, giving him the information on where to find the electrical current in the earth, and creating that electrical current. So he was receiving information from aliens or from a god or whatever you want to say, and receiving that information of trying to create something new. And of course, man gets involved. But I just I just feel like there's something definitely, yes, that's going to happen. Will the computers go out? No. I think there might be a glitch. I don't think all the computers or the internet will go down. I think there is a revising, and I keep on getting revising and reinventing of things. That's what I feel. There's a revising and reinventing of things, especially with this eclipse that's happening and with Mercury retrograde. So there's that's happening for us to really look at what it is, because people don't understand that with AI coming in, and if you are wanting to create your website and anything else, it has to be generated or attached to some AI generated, right? It's just having that particle. Now, I don't know everything about it. I'm not an AI person. I'm not a computer person, but I feel like it's something that we can't be afraid of. It's something that we have to look at and be able to utilize it, and that there is I mean, you use Google, right? To find out information. You use Google, or you use some form of information search to find things, right? So there is an intelligence that's in there that's utilized, that we that can be so helpful in so many different ways. And I think that's part of this eclipse, is getting us, and we're not going to see it totally, because it's an eclipse. It See, you can't see me. Can't see me. Well, maybe you can. But it darkens things. It's an eclipse, right? So eclipses, you don't see things for at least, the full reveal for 6 months of what that energy, that frequency was coming in to convey, to create. Now, we gotta know that if I know this, or if I, through studying my own astrology and listening to other astrologers, that other astrologers that are the baddies, or that the baddies don't have this information. Come on. And they like to tell you things. The thing is that when you look at the baddies are telling you what they're going to do. And then we're all shocked that they did. Oh my God, look at what they did. They told us, okay, here's a for instance. They told us, we want you to eat bugs. Oh, that's crazy. We're never going to eat bugs. And blah, 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 blah. And freaking out. The EU has just passed now that they are putting crickets, ground up crickets, in pancake mix and flour and in different ingredients. So you really have to be aware. So this is like, okay, they told us they're going to do this. Well, I need to be aware of what they're doing. So I need to make sure whatever I'm getting is not full of crickets, kind of thing, right? So of being aware. I mean, will this turn on them? I think it will. But of course, it is part of, I mean, there's been baddies throughout history. Like there's been, Dracula, Vladimir Dracula. I mean, he wasn't a nice guy. He had a little bit of issues about cutting people's heads off and putting them on stakes and doing all kinds of gross things to people, to put the fear of God in people, so that they bow down to him, of things like that. Hitler wasn't a nice person. We've had many different monarchs that weren't very nice, or prime ministers that aren't very nice. Come on. So they've been around. It's how we deal with it, and how we are looking at it, and looking at that frequency. And plus, sometimes we sort of need a slap in the face when things get really crazy, in order to wake us up, so we're not so complacent anymore, right? And getting out of that complacency. And I think, being Easter, and this day, just this whole day of what it means. Now, everybody's wishing me happy Easter, and I love it, and I love the reason. But the thing is, this is a day when people say happy Easter is that there's a basis of Christianity within you. There's an understanding that Christ rose from the dead. This is the day that they went to the tomb and he wasn't there. You know, all of the linens that wrapped him were gone. You know, were just not gone. He was gone. They were there. So this is a day of, yeah, of something rising up, of something coming again, something that is allowing us to really see the true light and how you want to embrace that true light within yourselves and within others. And and this is there, and not, oh, okay. Yes. Getting downloads as I'm talking. This is hilarious. This is where, how important is that to you? And I'm not saying Jesus or Christ, but how important is it to you about having the light in your life? Is it a priority? Right? Is it a priority? I've been reading this book. It's somewhere over here. There it is. And the thing is, it's He Leadeth Me. An awesome book. Like, this guy's just fucking crazy. Walter Schizitz, where he's a priest, and he was jailed during when Russia was the USSR, in a Siberian jail for 5 years, in solitary, where he couldn't, and for him to not say the mass was huge. Like, that was just, he could recite it and everything, recite the verses and everything for the mass, but he couldn't actually partake in that of the body and blood of Christ, which is very much a part of him. When he was finally sent to another camp, what they did is that the soldiers wouldn't, like, they would allow them to say mass, yet they would be assholes about it and say, you can't have mass till after all your work is done. And they actually built cities with their hands out there in Siberia and stuff. They dug holes with their hands. They didn't have shovels, and it was just horrific, the shit that he went through. And you got very little food. And the thing is that before you this is pre-Vatican II, so before you could receive the body or blood of Christ, like if you went to mass, you didn't eat. You weren't allowed to eat anything before mass, which used to kill me as a kid, because I was just a hungry little kid that, like, oh. And then when I finally was able to have communion, it was like, at least I get the communion, which didn't really taste good, because it's just doesn't taste good. It's just a wafer thing. But anyways, um they would wait till after they did their work and stuff, and then he would say mass for everybody in the prison. Then they would eat their food. That was their reverence of how important it was for them to receive. And just listening to what he did, and I'm just thinking, it's like, how important is it for us to be able to receive our light? And how many times do we put that on hold, or even think like, oh my God, thank God I don't have to do that ritual today, or thank God I don't have to do that today, oh my God. Even though you might like it or you might love it, but you have that sort of like, oh. And going back to what I said earlier, it's just that I think there's just so much on our plate, so much that we are involved with, or we are partaking with, or that we are indented with, or indated with, or what have you, that when something is sort of taken off our plate, even though that we feel it's a priority or it's important and we really like it, we're kind of happy. We're kind of happy. You know, we're just like, oh, thank God, I don't have to do that. Oh, you mean I don't have to go to the gym today? You know, those types of things. So this is when I feel like with Mercury retrograde and with this solar eclipse, is getting you to really look at what is important to your life, that you know that is important, that is a priority, that you have been putting on the back burner, knowing that that is really truly what you are wanting to connect with. And I feel this is a Sunday, this is a beautiful day to really look at that within your own life. And we all do it. We all have that sort of like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea, or thank God I don't have to do it, or whew, oh, I'm glad they canceled. you know, we all do it. And that's the whole thing is that looking at those things in our life that we don't really prioritize high enough. But when we do prioritize it high enough, we know that's exactly what our soul needs. That's exactly what we've been yearning for. But we don't do it. And that could be, for people who, who go to mass or decide like, oh, yeah, 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 I'll just, as we say, the people that just go to church on Sunday and then the rest of the week is just whatever. It's like, oh, I'm just going there just to get blessed for that day to make sure that the rest of my week goes well. Thinking of our ancestors and how they would make it a priority to make sure that what they were doing or what was important to them, they made sure that was a priority. If they had an altar, that their altar was cleansed and cleared and everything, and that whatever they were offering, they made sure that they did it. They made sure that they celebrated the spring equinox and the embolic and the Beltane. They made sure of that. They didn't dismiss it. They just didn't say, yeah, whatever. It's just another day. They really put their thought and their preparation into that. And I believe that that's truly what we are missing in some level, in some way within our own lives, because we become too dismissive in what it is that we are wanting to prioritize. So, with this energy, with these frequencies that are coming in, with the solar eclipse and with Mercury retrograde, I feel this is a time that we really have to go back in and saying, where do we need to put our priorities back in order? What do we need to reevaluate within our lives? And that means it's like, okay, if I want to meditate, well, and do my prayers or whatever spiritual practice is up for you, what am I going to do to really prioritize that? And how am I going to prioritize that? So if there's a mantra that you've been wanting to say and you've been, oh, but it's just, yeah, that's really good. Okay, I'll just play it in the background kind of thing. So I kind of dismiss it, but it's still there. But I really want to come back into that space. How can I come back into that space and prioritize that and make sure that that's a priority within my life and bringing that light back in? And that's what I feel like this Easter is really trying to convey for us. It's trying to look at us and get us to really look at, okay, yeah, many of us got Easter eggs, many of us colored eggs, many of us had kids that went on Easter egg hunts, right? And yes, we understand that has to do with Ostra and new life. Egg is new life, right? The egg is new life and bringing that new life in. So what is that new life that you want to bring into your life? And that really got me to thinking, what are the new things I want to bring into my life and the things that I want to create and how do I want to create them? So I'm looking at and I'm writing things down and revising them and thinking like, okay, this is what I think I want to start doing. And really wanting to, I say, okay, I want community. So what kind of things can I do to bring in community? And I got a few ideas written down. I'm sort of muddling through them. And how do I want to create that? Right. So this is what Mercury retrograde is really great about. It's really beautiful about really taking that time to really look at things and really finish things up of what it is that I need to really look inside of myself with. And how can I do that? So I put the challenge out to you. One of the challenges, for I would be, if you meditate only on a Sunday or a Saturday or a Friday, say you only meditate one day a week, I challenge you to meditate 3 times a week, whenever that is. If you've been wanting to do some kind of study, or start to read up on something, or you're wanting to learn some herbs, or you wanting to learn maybe some scripture, the Psalms or whatever, I challenge you to read that at least 3 times a week and do that. So if there's something there that you've been putting off, that you know that it's a priority and something that you love, if you want to learn crystals, yeah, I want to learn about crystals. I want to do crystals. I want to do crystals. What are you doing to learn crystals? Are you picking up a crystal? Are you working with a crystal? Like, what is it? So this is a time that, with Mercury retrograde, the solar eclipse coming in, a challenge of what it is that you want to prioritize and how you are wanting to reinvent yourself and revise yourself and reevaluate yourself and then revisit it. It's all the re's, when it comes to Mercury retrograde. And get yourself a candle. I mean, yeah, I went to Write a Ritual and got mine, but you could get your candle through the dollar store if you want. Go get yourself a dollar store candle. They're not bad. I mean, they're not a dollar, but I mean, they'll probably be cheaper than this one. But that's the thing. That's what we want you to do. Is now that we know that today was Easter. Today was a day of celebration. Today was the day Christ rose. Today is when the light is coming in even more. How much more do you want to bring the light into your life? What does that look like? Pretty cool. And how would you like to do that? You know, you got to love it. I started talking about sewing and making clothes for myself that are comfy, cozy, to wanting to reinvent myself. And maybe that is having to do. Maybe I want to start wearing more bright colored clothes and something a little bit more funky, right? Instead of just t-shirts and leggings. Step into that funky part of yourself. So let's find a herb for the day from the herb book. I love how I'm doing. I just don't want to. There we go. Oh, okay. I got this page at the back, and the first where my eyes drew me to was kelp, bladderwrack. So let's look up kelp. Kelp. Kelp, 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 kelp. And then we'll look up bladder. HIJKLMNOP. Oh. Might be under bladder. Bladderwrack. There we go. It is bladderwrack. Bladder, fucus, cutweed, kelp, sea spirit, sea rack, sea tang. It's feminine. It's ruled by the moon. Its element is water. Makes sense? So its power is for protection, sea spells, wind spells, money, psychic powers. So magical uses. Seaweeds generally give protection to those at the sea or those who are flying over it. Therefore, intercontinental travelers should carry this plant. It is also used in sea spells to summon the spirits of the sea by throwing it onto the waves and calling them. This will gain their favor and they will aid your magic. Kelp is used to summon the winds. Stand on the shores and hold a long strand of the fresh seaweed in your hand. Whip it around in the air above your head in the clockwise direction and whistle. The winds will come. Make an infusion of the plant and scrub the floors and the doors of a place of business to attract customers and bring good vibrations into the store. Also use in all money spells, particularly potent spells, entails simply filling a small jar with whiskey, placing some kelp in it, capping it tightly, and placing this in the kitchen window. This will ensure a steady flow of money into the household. Bladderwhack is also used in sachets to increase psychic powers and carry to protect against mental derangement. Well, I think we need to carry that around so we don't get mental derangement. So you can get kelp and stuff like that if you want. You can get that at wherever they make what do you call it? Sushi and stuff. So you can get different seaweed and stuff like that if you want. So different health food stores will have kelp and stuff like that, especially like I don't live by the ocean. So it's not relatively available to me here. So you know, it's just one of those things. So finding different ways of getting it if you are wanting to use it, right? So yeah, cool. Cool. So that's our plant for the day. That's a really cool one. And I have, yeah, well, maybe, yeah, I'll bring those in too. I'll bring in, looking around. And I've been feeling that strongly for myself. That's so cool, Lexi. Yeah. So prioritizing, what is it that you need to prioritize? So the solar eclipse is next Monday. So just to, heads up, this week is going to be a little bit radical. People are going to be sort of freaking out today and throughout the week. The Lord of the sky, we don't call him the Lord of the heaven, but the Lord of the sky, Uranus, is fully out of retrograde going forward. Same with Neptune. So you're going to find a lot of things that are crazy when it comes to, like, California is having a lot of rain. They've had more rain in the last little while than they've had in like 40 years, like the crazy rain. But they've been seeding the clouds in California. Hi, little house of blonde, Rebecca. But they've been seeding the clouds and stuff there too. So that is crazy. And I've been seeing here too a lot of the planes and stuff with the clouds, whatever you call it again. I always forget what you call it. Happening around here whenever it's sunny. So today I know it's really sunny out and we're going to see the planes out like crazy. And then of course then the weather's just going to change and get, either we're going to get snow. But with Neptune, in Pisces, there's a lot of water. So a lot of water activity, and we're going to be seeing more of that throughout this year. So we have a lot of water activity. And then also with Uranus, ruling the skies. So we have the water and the ruler of the skies, really adding some activity there. So there's going to be a lot of sky activity. So hence we got the solar eclipse and we have Mercury retrograde. And this is where, again, this is all about that revising and revitalizing ourselves with everything. And here we had this reversed yesterday and now he's upright. So it's saying, what do it's like, okay, you've looked at things that are out of balance and not going in with the flow. What is flowing for you? What is going forward? Because this is about giving and taking, right? It's that balance. It's the pentacle. So what are you giving and taking within your muggle world? And as you do it, you might be getting confused because the chariot's reversed. So we got confusion coming in, major confusion. And I think some of that major confusion is because Mercury stopped and with Mercury stopping in Aries, which is a fire sign, will cause a lot of frustration. So there's a lot of frustration that's happening, a lot of things that we're looking at that we don't want to look at or revise and balance out. We don't want to do that because it's like boring. So when we have, the chariot reversed, this is like, okay, what direction do I go into? I got to trust. This is really stepping into that trust and saying, I may not get all the information I want because things are really sparking off and going crazy. I need to really look at what it is that I am. And finding that the choices I'm wanting to make are out of sorts. The choices are going to be really not really fulfilling at this time. So this is again taking that time of how am I bringing that balance in? How am I creating that balance? Because it's not going to be, where I have all these beautiful choices or I'm really confused. This is where it's like, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit overly confused. And it's a 7. I think we had a 7 yesterday that was reversed. So 7s are coming in, which is interesting. So anybody who does anything with numerology, look up the number 7. I'm a 7. I should know that. I should know everything. It should all be in my brain somewhere. Yeah, making things unrealistic. If you are projecting your fantasies into your life or onto others, an indifference or reluctance to acknowledge what is truly makes you happy. So a reluctance. So there's a reluctance in what it is that I want to do because I'm feeling stuck. I'm feeling stuck. So I want to bring something in there. I want to cover it up with something. And when I know I have to come in to bring in some kind of balance, some kind of give and take in it all. And this is like, okay, how can I bring in the give and take? How can I bring in that balance? Let me make the choices that are priorities in my life. What is bringing me the greatness? What is bringing me the light? What is it that I actually have to do? So if I've been procrastinating, I know I have to be doing yoga every day, and I haven't been doing yoga every day because I've been like, oh, like whatever. Even though it makes you feel good when you do it, why aren't you doing it? What is the reasoning? Oh, well, it's just, I'm too busy in the morning. It's just too hard for me to get up that early. Whatever your excuse is. You're using that excuse to say, oh, I can sleep for another hour. Or I can, maybe I'm only going to. So look at it, doing it only 3 days a week. Start reprioritizing because then the choices and the decisions are going to come in. There you go. Have a blessed one, everybody, and may the Lord and Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you and all that you say and all you be and all you do. Have a great day and a happy, happy Easter. Enjoy your chocolate. Enjoy it. Today it's sunny in Calgary. Woo! And it's not snowing. So enjoy, and embrace. Blessed be everybody. And we will talk to you soon. Have a great one. Yeah. Bye, everyone. I can't get off.